We're on Daf 152, Masechta Shabbos, Kuf Nun Beis. We left off on the last line of the previous Daf. Sheish Dmos Hain. There's 6 types of tears. Shalosh Yoifos for Shalosh Rows. 3 of the tears are good for you, 3 of the tears are bad. Shal Oshon, tears that you get because of smoke. V'shel Bechi, or tears of sadness, or tears shel Beis HaKisei, or you have so much intestinal pain that you start crying. Those are ro'os, those are bad for your eyes. Shel Sam, let's say the doctor puts some medicine in your eyes and you start tearing. V'shel Schok, you laugh so hard that you start tearing. Or let's say you chop onions, shel Peiros, you chop onions and you start tearing. That's actually good for the eyes. So we were quoting psukim from Shlomo HaMelech about the aging process. So it says, Bayom she'azu shomrei habayis v'yisafsu. So Bayom she'azu shomrei habayis, what is the day? What is the day? Those that guard the house. Elo aksolim v'atzlos. It refers to the cheeks. I'm sorry. It refers to your ribs. And like the abdominal wall. And then v'hitavtu, and that they'll get weaker. V'hitavtu an she'achayil elu shvokim. That's like your thighs. Ubadla toichnois, and the grinders have been abolished. Elu shinaim, your teeth. As you age, you lose your teeth. The choshkwa rose, varubos, and the vision, the sights and the windows are removed. Elu enayim. All these things through age become worse and worse. One of the Roman Caesars said to Rav Shua ben Chananya, my time lo osis lebe'avidan. I haven't seen you at Be'avidan. Was a place where the philosophers would come and debate, and Yoshua ben Chananya used to represent the Jewish people there. And I guess the Caesar would attend to listen to the debates. And he noticed that Yoshua ben Chananya had not been there for a while.
Sorry. But it's an inferior location, and it's a super.
Amarle tor teleg sachroni glidin kalboi and loy navchin tchunen loy toichnen. That my hair is white. It refers to like a mountain that has snow on it, and so therefore my hair is white, my beard is white. The dogs don't bark. My voice, nobody can hear me. I can't use my teeth. Bei Rav Amri, and the Yeshiva of Rav said that Rav Yoshua ben Chananya continued and said, Adlo avidna b'chishna. I'm searching for things that I have lost. Because he's bent over, like walking with a cane. He's always looking for something, like when he loses money. Tanya, Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma Oimer, Tova Trei Mitlas. Walking on 2 legs is better than walking on 3 legs. 3 legs means he's using a cane. That's his 3rd leg. Vai lo l'chad da'azam lo asya. He's lamenting things that the elderly person, loses. These are functions that he loses that don't return. Mahi, Anav Chizda, Yankusa, your the days of your youth. Kiyosra Avdimi, Mari Yankusa Klila Devarda, Vered is a rose. So, it's like It's like a bed of roses. Sevusa klila de chilfa. While vice versa, aging is like thorns. Torah Mishraid Rav Meir, duk b'bachi v'tishkach b'gigri, means you should chew your food, and then you'll be able to walk better. It means it's almost like a health food advice that chewing your food well, you'll be able to digest it better. Shenemar v'nizba lechem v'niyet tovim v'ra lo ra'inu. We won't see evil if we are satiated from our bread. Amalei Shmuel Rav Yehuda, Shinana, you have long teeth. Shrei saki v'ayalach b'cha. I mean, you should eat properly. Let the bread let you eat the bread. Adarbon shana michli mali. Michli is solid food. Mikan ve'elech mishte mali. Then after 40, better to eat your food as a liquid form. Goza means cutting. Cutting was somebody who was castrated. He worked in the harems of the Arabs, and he would shepherd with Rav Yeshua ben Korcha. A kereach is somebody who's bald. So Yeshua ben Korcha, he was bald. So the Goza, the one who was castrated, would ask for Yeshua ben Korcha, mehocha the karchina and kamavar. What's the difference between here and Karchina? Karchina was the name of the city, but it means Karcha means you're bald. He was making fun of Yeshua ben Korcha. So Omer Lei, listen, Rav Yeshua was not going to have any of this. He asked him back, the same distance as from here to the city of cutting. It means you're someone who was cut. Omer Lei Stuki, who was also castrated, Barcha Karcha Ba'arba, that a sheep or a goat that is bald is sold for very cheap. Again, he was making fun of Yeshua ben Korcha. Omer Lei Ikra Shlifa B'tamne Havina Delo. I'm sorry. Ikra Shlifa B'tamne, a goat or a sheep that's been castrated sells for even cheaper. Chazya de Losayim Masane. Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha was not wearing shoes. Maybe it was Yom Kippur, says some Rishonim. Some say it's Tisha B'Av. Omer Lei, they also smell. Person who rides a horse is a king. The Alcham, or person who rides a donkey, ben Chorin. Person who has shoes is a human being. The Lohav Loha, the Chaver Kaver Tavmine, who doesn't. People don't walk around without shoes. It's like he's dead and buried. Omer Lei, Guza, you were cut twice. Tlas Amrisli, you told me 3 different things. Therefore, Tlas Shamat, I'm going to give you back 3 things. Hadras Panim Zakein means an old person who has a beautiful white beard, has a beautiful face. Simchas Leiv, and remember, Rav Yeshua ben Korcha understood that someone who was castrated can't have hair. So you're not going to have hair. Simchas Leiv Isha, that the joy of someone's heart is his wife. Again, this guy's castrated. He doesn't have any libido or any sexual function. And then there's a pasuk that says, Nachlos Hashem Bonim. The ultimate nachal of a person is his children. Of course, the castrated person doesn't have any children. Baruch HaMokam Shemanacha Mikulam. Thank heavens that Hashem prevented you from having any of these. Omer Lei, so the castrated guy said, Korcha Mitsuyana. What, you're fighting with me? Omer Lei, Ikra Shlifa Tochacha. Yeah, you started it up with me. So this is this dialogue between Rav Yeshua ben Korcha and the castrated. Omer Lei Rabbi Yeshua ben Chalafta. Mipnei Maloik Balnu Panecha Beregel. Rav Yeshua ben Chalafta had not visited Rebbe. Usually, all the Talmidim would visit their Rebbe on Yontif, and he didn't visit. And Rebbe asked him, why did you come? Your forefathers would call upon my forefathers. The house of Rebbe were the Nisim. Omer Lei, Sloim Nasuk Voyim. I have aged. The rocks that I used to climb are much taller now. Mishtayim nasu shalish. My 2 legs are now 3 because I have to use a cane. Mesim shalom bayis batel. My sexual function makes shalom bayis, and I don't have that anymore. So he was sort of complaining to Rebbe about his age. Now, other psukim in Koheles. V'sugru d'lasayim bashuk means the doors of the market are closed. It refers to, again, an aged person, that his intestines are blocked. Bisfaz kol atachna, his lips and the voice of the grinding. Bishvil kurkavan she'en tochen, that means his stomach doesn't digest the food well. V'yakom l'kol atzipor, shafili tzipor minarta mishtaso, he sleeps so poorly that even the sound of a chirping bird wakes him up. V'yisachel kol b'nos hashir, he can't hear song. Shafilu kol sorry b'sharis domis alav kasucha. He can't hear. His hearing is poor. He can't hear the singers. Yaf bar zilai giladi omer leDavid ben shmonim shana nochi hayom ha'eda ben tovler. I'm now 80 years old, and I can't even tell the difference between good and bad because of his mind. They don't think like they used to think. I can't eat and taste what I used to drink. The nation says for essential skating metropolis. My tongues don't work, my lips don't work. I can't hear because my ears are getting worse and worse. Amar Rav, Barzilai Giladi Shekara Hava. He was a liar. There was a maid in the house of Rebbe, Bastishin Vitartin, 92 years old. Bavatama Kidra, and when she cooked, she would be able to taste everything. So he still had, Barzilai Giladi was 80 years old and was already losing his senses. But here is a story of the maid in Rebbe's house who was 92, who still had a lot of power. And not only that, Rav Amar Barzilai Giladi Shatu Pizima Haba. He was somebody who was, in his young days, he partied hard, involved in immorality. Being involved in immorality causes premature aging. Tanya, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, Omer. Talmidei Chachamim kol zman shemaskinim chachamim tosefes behem. With Talmidei Chachamim, the older they get, the wiser they get. Shneimar b'yisisim chachma v'arch yamim tvuna. The Amar, it's people who are unlearned, kol zman shemaskinim tipshus nitosefes. They become, more foolish. Sharamesi sofel emanim v'tamis kenim yikach. Then the Koheles psukim continue. Gami gavoa yiro. Shafilu gavshushis ktana doim alav kari. Even a little bump in the road looks to him like Mount Everest. V'chatchatchim baderech, like cracks in the road. V'shashamalach baderech nasulot tovim. He's very worried when he walks. V'yana'etz hashaked, that refers to a tree. Zukli voices, that people get hip fractures. The bones are brittle and they break their hips. V'yistakele chagav, chagav is a grasshopper. Elu agavot, the person's behind sags. V'tafer haviona, the viona is also some kind of insect. Zuchemda, this refers to sexual desire, which gets weaker as you age. Rav Kahana have a pasuk siddur kamei de Rav. Rav Kahana was learning in front of Rav Kimat Elai Kra. When he got to that pasuk in Koheles, Nogid v'yitnech, Rav gave a krechts. Omer shmami no batel leichem das de Rav. Must be that Rav had lost his sexual desire. Omer Rav Kahana maydich siv ki hu amar veyehi hu tziva vayamod. So ki hu amar veyehi zu isha. refers to a woman. Tana, Isha, Chemes Molit Soha. Refers to the desire for women. Women are like a container full of dung, upia mole dam, full of blood. And yet everyone chases after her because their collection of organs. But that's not how the male views the female.
Ernie, we're the young people. You need the young people to understand this. The old people, we got the message already. It's here already. This makes you feel very happy, especially on Tu B'Av. This is really feel good about this Kohelet. So yeah, all the super. Gosh.
Right. It gets worse.
Can you skip this? I got please go to the next step.
It gets worse, Walter. It says, Ki hoilecha adam el beit olamo. A person goes to his final resting place. Rav Yitzchak B'Lamed shekol tzadik v'tzadik nois lo madur lo fi kvodo. Every tzaddik gets a dwelling place in Shemayim according to his unique contributions. Not everybody gets the same dwelling place. Like a king who comes into a city, they all come into the same gate. But when they're giving lodging, the chief of staff, the king is given a palace. The chief of staff is given the presidential suite. The generals, right? The servants, everyone gets the lodging according to their covenant. Rav Yitzchak, my dechsiv, ki hayaldut v'ashachrut havel. What's the point of being young? The things that the guy did when he was young end up, causing his face to become black as he gets old. Because it leads to more illness and sickness and aging. Rav Yitzchak, that when the dead are buried and the worms digest them, it's going to be painful. His flesh will hurt. After a person's death, his own neshama mourns for him for 7 days. And they made for Yaakov Avinu Avelus 7 days. So Avelus is a 7-day period, and even the person's own neshama, in a sense, mourns for his death. If a mace doesn't have any mourners, 10 people go to where he was buried or where he died. There was a person who died in Rav Yehuda's neighborhood. He didn't have people who mourned him. Rav Yehuda would bring 10 people, and they would sit there. The person who had died appeared to Rav Yehuda in a dream. You comforted me a great deal. Whatever people say about the mace can hear you. Until they put the coffin in the ground and cover it with dirt. That's the Sasima Sagolel. Then the neshama cannot understand what's going on in this world. However, one says until the burial, until actually the flesh decomposes, which is a long time. That his basar will feel pain, meaning as long as the basar is going to be there, there's, in some sense, he has some perception. Once the dirt returns, right, the way it was, then that seems to be the end. Ton Rabbanon, this pasuk, Baruch tashuv Elohim asher nesana, the spirit will turn to Hashem, which means you need to return your soul to Hashem the way He gave it to you. B'tahara. When Hashem gave it to you, it was a pure soul. You got to give it back to Him the same way. Afata b'tahara. Moshe Melech Bas V'dam is a story like a king. Shechilek Bigdei Malchus Lavadav, he gave beautiful royal clothing to his servants. Pikin derem kiplum v'nuchem b'kufsa. The smart ones folded it up, put it in a suitcase, and watched it very carefully. Tipshim Javahem, the foolish ones, they put them on, they did work, it got dirty. Liyamin Bikesh HaMelech as Kela. After a time, the king asked for the clothing back. Pikin Shemem Echzir Lokshem Mugohotzim. Mugohotzim is like ironed, right? So the smart ones had given it back to them. They had never touched it. The foolish ones gave it back when it was dirty. The king was happy to the smart ones. The cost of I am going to store these kalim that were given back to me. I'm going to put them in my own sort of treasure store. And I will allow them to go back home. First, we have to give these clothing to a launderer. Meanwhile, they have to be put into prison. He invites the tzaddikim to come in peace and rest comfortably where they lie. And the nefesh of such and such person will be tied up in the tree of life. Al gufan shel rishonim hu omer, but for the rishonim he says, "Ein shalom amar Hashem l'rishonim." The rishonim will have no peace. Yikalena means the kala is a slingshot. David HaMelech used a kala when he struck Goliath. So in a sense, we're going to see the neshamas of the Rishonim are like slung from one end of the universe to the other, like a ping pong game. Tanya Rav Lezer Rabbi Nishmashon Tzaddik Gnuzes Tachas Kisei HaKavod. The neshamas of the tzaddikim are hidden or buried or saved underneath Hashem's throne Himself. Shenemar, Vayse Nefesh HaNitzur B'Tzrachayim. Shel Rishonim Zomim Mois V'Olchos. But the souls of the Rishonim are never in peace. They're always moving. Umalach Echad Omi B'Soifa Oilam. One angel is one end of the universe. Umalach Echad Omi B'Soifa Oilam. Umekalish Muslim, they play ping pong back and forth. Shenemar Vayse Nefesh Oivechi Kalena B'Zol Kafa Kala. Armalei Rabbi Rav Nachman. Shel Beinonim Mai. So fine. You describe tzaddikim. You describe Rishonim. What about Beinonim? And in general, in most of the discussions, the average person is considered a Beinoni. You have to view, like when it talks about Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, all of us are supposed to view ourselves as Beinoni, that we're 50-50. So that's why Rabbi asked Rav Nachman, what about the Beinonim? If I would have died before my Rebbe Shmuel would have told me this secret, I never would have been able to tell it, but I didn't die. So I was around when Shmuel told me this. There's an angel called Duma, and both the Rishonim and the Beinonim are given to Duma. The word Duma, like Shemesh Begivon Dom, silent, or Vayidom Aaron. Aaron was silent. Because human beings speak. That's the main part of being human. So, Halalu Yeshem Manoach. The Beinonim eventually will have peace. But Halalu Elam Manoach. but the Rishonim will not. Omer of Mary, Atidim Tzadikim Tahavu Afra. Even Tzadikim will turn to dust. T'chsiv, the Yashov Afra al-Arz Keshaya. Hanu Kapuloi, Tahavu Kafli Ba'ad Rav Nachman. These were workers who were digging on the land of Rav Nachman. And Nochabu Rav Achai Bar Yoshia. Rav Achai had passed away and was buried in this ground, and they came upon his corpse. Also and Nochabu, he made noise with his nose. Also Rav Nachman, and they immediately ran to Rav Nachman and says, there's a corpse, it's alive. Nochar ben Gavra, that even though he was dead, he made noises at us. Also, Omer Lei, so Rav Nachman came and wanted to know, Mani Umar, who are you? Omer Lei, Ano Achai Bar Yoshia. I was Rachai Bar, I'm the corpse of Achai Bar Yoshia. And there was a discussion that took place. Omer Lei, Rav Nachman said to him, V'lav Omer of Mary, Atidi Tzadiki Dabu Afra. How could you still be a corpse? Rav Mari said that the tzaddikim turned to dust. Umani Mari, who is this Mari? I don't know who that is. But Rav Mari just quoted a pasuk. So the tzaddikim should turn to dust. Why has that not happened to you? Mishlei. Whoever, maybe you learned Koheles, but you didn't read Mishlei, because the pasuk of the Yashav Haaretz Keshayas from Koheles. But I'll quote you a pasuk from Mishlei. T'chsiv urkav atzomos kina. Deterioration or decomposition of a body only occurs if that person was jealous. Chomish yesh lo kina belibo. Atzmos of markivim. Then he decomposes. Koshen lo kina belibo atzmos of. By
the way, Ernie, there are numerous cases of tzaddikim. I know of a case of a tzaddik in South Africa that was like a tzaddik nister, and they dug up the guf, right, because they wanted to move it to Eretz Yisrael, and the guf was in perfect condition.
There's a Tzvika took me when I traveled with Tzvika to Machon Pua. I don't know, it was 10 years ago. Whenever we went, so. We went to visit Tzvi's father's Kvura. It's in a cemetery outside of Tel Aviv. And there's a famous Rebbe, I'm trying to remember his name, from Czechoslovakia. They brought him after the war, 1945, or something. He was caught. So he's buried in that cemetery. And all the
Stefanish.
Yeah, Stefanish.
He's buried 2 rows from my father.
The Stefanish Rav. All the Chilonim, the Chayalot, you've never seen. So everyone comes to his grave because they say he had died like in 1850. He died a long time ago, 100 years ago. And when they brought his body to Eretz Yisrael, he was completely shalom.
Yeah, there's a meister like that in South Africa also, in a small town where the guy was a big tzaddik, and they dug him up and they found completely shalom. So there's talking about afar. Obviously, it's like.
Well, we're not through with the sugya. So right now it seems that if you don't have kina, your body will not decompose. The bodies will be shalom. So the Gemara says, Kshoshe. Rav Nachman touched Rav Achai's corpse. Chazi the Ispe B'Shosha. And there was material there. Amr lei, leikumar legavei dvesa. Okay, why don't you come to my house? Amr lei, galus adaitich dafilu nevi'ai loikaris. I see that you haven't even read Nevi'im. Dichsi vidatem ki ani Hashem, b'pischi es kivroseichem. Only Hashem will open up the kvorim and we will get up and walk like live people. That's only Hashem. Omar lei, vaksiv ki afaratav el afar tashu. It still says when you die, you return to dust. Omar lei, hausha achas kodem tchias hamesim. Yeah, even the Stephen Nesher and all these tzaddikim whose bodies are shalom, they remain shalom until 1 minute before Mashiach or before tchias hamesim. Then they turn to dust, and because Tchias HaMesim is going to take place, everybody the same. Everybody will be dust, and they'll be Tchias HaMesim. So this Gemara fits with the people, the tzaddikim that are still shleimim. Amarle would stuki ravavo. A certain stuki said to Ravo, "Amrisu nishmosum tzaddikim gnuzos taras kiseko." You say that the neshamas tzaddikim are under the throne of Hashem. Uva tanya hecha aske l'shmuel b'negida. So there's a famous story which Mirz Hashem will learn in the Navi Shir, that when Shaul HaMelech was going to go out to do his final battle with the Plishtim, so Shmuel HaNavi had died. He couldn't get the Urim Vatumim to speak to him. He wanted to get someone to predict what was going to happen to the war. So one of the Avodah Zarahs is called Ovi Adoni. So Balas Ov, they would put a bone in their mouth and it would speak through the bone. So Shaul found someone who practiced this concept of Ov. Now we're going to learn when we get to Shmuel how could Shaul go to someone who was practicing Ov? It's your chayiv skila for doing that. So that's we'll get to that when we get to that. But the Gemara says, if you're telling me that this Balas Ov brought Shmuel back, how could he bring Shmuel back? He's under the Kisei HaKavod of Hashem. You know, this event happened within 12 months of Shmuel's death. And you don't go up to the final resting place until after 12 months. That's why we say Kaddish for a whole year. The Tanya Kol 12 Chodesh Gufo Kayim. V'nishmoso Olav Yoredes. The first 12 months, the body's intact, and the neshama goes up and down, up and down. La'achar 12 Chodesh Haguf Batel. After 12 months, the goof is finished. V'nishmoso Olav Yishuv Eni Yored. Then the neshama goes up and doesn't come down anymore. So this episode with Shmuel happened during the first 12 months. Okay, so tomorrow, regular time, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.